host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan, Rockefeller Center, New York City, joined as usual with John behind me. How you doing, John?
Doing great, thanks.
Yeah? How's the restaurant world treating you?
Great. Got an A on the DOH review the other night, Friday night.
Oh, wow.
That was exciting, yeah. Happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah. Hey. It's like, anyway, it's like no one's ever happy with anything but an A, though. It's not like,
Yeah.
Well,
didn't get a single, literally nothing wrong with the kitchen or any of the food.
nanny. Oh, wait, so you're blaming the FOH. Typical Chef Weasel blaming the front of house.
They got one of the three things was on them.
Oh, man. It's so typical. I didn't think you'd become one of those guys, John. All those comps you got at the bar, and you're still ragging on the FOH.
All the snacks they get.
Oh,
please,
God.
it's totally even.
Jeez Louise.
Oh, man.
Got Joe Hazen rocking the panels. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so glad everyone's here in the studio.
Yeah.
Majority of us.
Oh, calling out the three people who aren't.
I wish we could merge the West to the East one day. It would be amazing.
It would be nice if we had transporter beams. You ever read Reasons and Persons by Derek Parfit, the thought experiment philosophy book?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, a lot of it is about transporter beams, and they talk about transporter beams like Star Trek. And you're like, oh, that sounds great. And he's like, yeah, but what happens if they forget to dematerialize you on the one side, and then they rematerialize you on the other side, and then there's two of you, and then you go up and kill the one that didn't get dematerialized? Are you doing anything wrong?
I love that idea. I'm always perplexed with like how they're actually decoding the correct way. Like, why isn't your arm like coming out of your hip or something like that?
Well, if you've watched Willy Wonka, you know Mike TV gets host.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. And back in the day, they broke people into like bigger chunks. So it was only 1 million pieces. He flew over your head in only 1 million pieces. Which is, ridiculous. All right. I don't know what coast you're on, Mr. Molecules. Where are you, Jack?
I'm still in D.C. Got actually 2 more weeks here, this week and next week, D.C.
All right. And we got Nastasia Lopez in the great state of Connecticut. How's you doing?
Good. Jack's going to see me this weekend.
Oh, yeah? He's coming up to the up the coast? Nice. All right. We got in Vancouver Island in the upper left. Quinn, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah, and today's special guest here to talk about her relatively new book. Relatively new? Yeah, this year. Yeah. Mayumu, Filipino-American Desserts Remixed. We have Abi Balingit. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you are here. You came at the recommendation of McNally Jackson, which is, one of our 2 favorite bookstores.
Yes. I'm so grateful for them. I did my book launch and I had a signing there, and it was the first time I'd ever signed books, and I was like, I have to make sure my signature is right. And I was stressing out, and they were so lovely and so sweet. So Malin, thank you so much for having me.
So what'd you go for signature wise?
I went with, you know what, now people can forge my signature because this is what it's on my legal documents. Going with Abigail with a B at the end and a big A loop. And
okay.
I mean, I don't know how people do their full first last name. Some people do full on cursive, and I think cursive is a lost art.
Yeah.
I think we've forgotten how to do it.
They didn't teach my son that. He's 18 and he just didn't even learn it. They didn't teach it. Yeah, they didn't teach it. Yeah. I mean, he's like, what do you need to know that for? What? You know what I mean? Yeah, seriously.
That's so sad. Yeah. How do they make signatures? They just have print?
I don't know, but when was the last time, all official documents are signed on a computer anyhow?
A DocuSign.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, I just do the big old, do you carry a Sharpie with you? That's the author trick.
Oh, God, yeah, it's in my bag. I think I'm actually.
Yeah, I just do this one. That's it.
Nice.
Big D.
Oh, Big D.
Big D. Yeah, Big D. Although that was actually not my nickname. There was another guy I worked with for years whose nickname was Big D.
What was his signature?
I don't know his signature. His signature was probably neat. He was from Long Island.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, his signature was probably neat. But then I also draw a little elf character, which is kind of like my thing.
Oh.
If I have the time. I don't always have the time, but that's my logo character.
People need to see this. Well, hopefully you'll sign something of theirs.
Little elf, yeah.
That's really good.
If you come get me. Also, I have I mispronounce everything, and I also I forget people's names, and I misspell everything. So, signing things makes me extraordinarily nervous.
You can't just cross out names.
No, especially with a fat old Sharpie. You know what I mean? So, I always ask people to have me write. I carry a separate piece of paper, and I write their name on the piece of paper first, and I'm like, like this,
That's
and they're
smart.
like, yeah,
I wish
yeah.
that was done for me in a lot of cases.
Oh, because how do they? Oh, they JOHN you.
Or JHON.
Jahan. Jahan. I kind of like that. That's kind of a good name.
Wow.
Jahan.
First for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is that a name anywhere? That I
have no
I don't think
idea.
I've ever seen a JHON.
No, I don't think I have either.
It sounds like it could be real.
Yeah, I've seen it spelled that way more than once.
Like Nordic or something?
And
I don't know, something. I don't know. I can't place it. If I saw it, I'd be like, okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are we doing? Speaking, John, what are we doing? First of all, why don't you talk? If you're listening live, you can call in your questions to 917-410-1507. That's 917-410-1507 here in the studio. If you are a Patreon person and a live listener, and why don't you tell them how to sign up and what they get?
Patreon.com/cooking issues. You get access to a bunch of cool things, discounts with people we like to work with, including an upcoming discount with Edward's Aged Meats, which we're super excited about. The usual, discount with authors' books being sold at Kitchen Arts and Letters. A bunch of other great things. Dave has been posting a bunch of little private projects he's been working on Patreon. So yeah, a lot of great reasons to join. Patreon.com/cooking issues.
Yeah, if you want to make an overly expensive aluminum cold press juicer, join the Patreon and you can get my shopping list. Yeah. That thing's almost done. But I have to say this. Sorry, Abby. I have to mention this because this is a huge news week for Booker and Dax. We have finally launched the freaking Spinzall pre-sales. It's our culinary centrifuge. It's mainly for bars.
Yeah.
Chefs use them too. John uses it.
Oh.
Yeah. But of course, John's a forward-looking chef. John's not he's not a jamoke. You know what I mean? Anyway. So yeah, it went on pre-sale, and we're doing pretty well, right, Quinn?
Yeah, we're doing really well.
Yeah. All right. Well, remember, folks.
We only have 130 left, right?
Yeah, of the original, of that 500. Listen, get your order in. You got to, people, I'll say this. Get your order in because, we will not probably have units left over after we tell the factory what to make. So even after we need, so Abby, here's how it works. We need to sell 500 to make any at all.
Right.
499, the factory's like, no, thank you. Goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 500 is the number, to open the door. But then after that 500, they'll let us make more in the initial production run, right? So we need 500, but then we still need you could put more in up until the last day that we have to put the order in. And we don't know yet what the last day we have to put the order in. But once you put the order in, after that, it's a month and a half, 2 months of production, and then another month to throw it across the water. So it's once that date hits, that's your last day to pre-order and get one of this batch. And we don't know when the next one's going to be. John, do we know when the next one's going to be?
No.
No.
This could be your only opportunity forever.
Could be your only opportunity forever if you want to spin things, which is why they're like Lay's potato chips. You got to buy 2 of those suckers, right, Stas? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even if they only make them once, they still come with great customer service.
Yeah.
Yeah, the patrons already know about this.
Yeah.
So by the time this episode goes out on Friday, the people listening should pre-order right away.
Yeah. Did that episode where I showed it on the Dave Chang show ever get aired? I'm stupid at looking stuff up. I don't know. Whatever.
It did, but there's no video.
There's no video there? Then why did I do video? What the hell is this?
Wow.
Womp, womp, womp.
Life is like getting hit with a bag of oranges. The bruising's on the inside. So, is next week a No Tangent Tuesday, or what do we got? What do we got next week?
Who do we got next week?
I believe so, yeah.
No, all
I
right.
believe it's no tangent.
All right, so for people that have, non-related Patreon questions, we'll get you next week, and we'll do more Spinzall talking, and we'll save that for later. So, Abby, I've been told I'm supposed to abbreviate this section, but this is the section where we all talk about any interesting kind of food thingamajigs from the past week. Yeah, anything interesting last week?
Ooh, yeah. So I went to pop up at Edie's Grocer in Greenpoint, and they had a collab with Waldy Reyes, who's this great Filipino chef. So it was like a Filipino Lebanese combo, like shared communal meal, and there was like a falafel lumpia, it's like whole branzino with like amazing rice just made with like coconut water and like nuts and like herbs and bok choy. It was so good. I like still think about that dinner. It happened like literally last week, and I'm like, I still miss it.
Oh, nice. That's a good story. Wait, Jack, do you have anything? You always go to a restaurant and you're like, I had something, but then I didn't like it. Wow.
Ow. I mean, I don't know. I had a burger on a pretzel bun last night, and I hadn't had that in years. So that's not very interesting. But
Listen,
the pretzel buns.
The pretzel buns.
They're messy, but they're delicious.
Next time, so you did this at home?
No, I didn't have it at home.
The pretzel buns, in my opinion, that the commercially available ones, the Pretzilla ones, are good. A little bit doughy. Just a little bit doughy. I like, but you have to put your own salt on it. So usually I like to gild the lily. Like I'm big at gilding lilies. So I like to put salt and caraway on that, so that it's kind of like a pretzel halfway to a kummel roll.
Oh, see, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for, man. I'm here for you for like little smart or dumb hacks. Yeah. What about you, Quinn or Stas? You guys got anything?
I made 4 versions of my chocolate gelato and did a taste comparison.
Yeah, and was there a big difference?
So, well, my goal is to actually take different parameters of ingredients and end up with very similar final gelatos. So that was sort of the test. Okay,
that's an odd, but I'm there for you, Quinn. I'm there. Let us know how it works out.
Well, the idea is that no matter what chocolate you use, you still end up with a similar result.
Yeah, as long as it's Valrhona.
No. No, I didn't use Valrhona.
Yeah. You're not going to... I'm sorry, dude. I mean, maybe in a gelato. I don't know. It depends on a gelato, but you're like, guess what? I melted down Hershey bars, and it was just as good as the one I made with Manjari. Not going to happen. You know what I mean?
No, I'm using a local chocolate.
Oh, all right, whatever. Well, who's the local Vancouver Island chocolate?
It may be the island. I think it's BC. Okay. But it's called Wild Mountain.
Good?
Really good.
All right. Okay. I have not had it, so I cannot make any judgments. Huh? All right. All right. So, Abby, let's talk about this book.
Yeah.
So, on the cover of it, you have this like a hollow baked Alaska thing, which looks pretty good.
Thank you.
But a lot of what you're doing here, you do a lot of desserts with. It's not the whole thing, but you do a lot of desserts with some savory stuff chucked in, which is kind of interesting. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to start because I don't know whether I should go down. I'll ask the user questions. Users, Patreon. Yes. Sorry, Patreon people. You're our people. Users. What a jerk. You know why? It's because I've been dealing with the factory a lot with making the Spinzall, and I have to talk about issues that users are going to have of the equipment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the only language that I can deal with. And so, like, the people that I'm trying to serve then become users instead of
experience and all.
Yeah, right. So, no offense, Patreon people. So yeah, before I go down this huge rabbit hole, I'll ask their questions first. All right. Okay. Can you discuss the various, I guess, the flavors of the different vinegars from the Datu Puti Corporation, and what dishes you would use ones best? I only have the dark one.
There's a little bit of soy in that one.
The molasses one, the Sukang Ilocos one. That's the only one I have in my house. But
that one's great too.
By the way, my dad asked this question.
Oh, okay.
Your dad asked. Okay, this is a very deep cut question.
All right.
I mean, I feel like there are certain ones when I was growing up, like the ones that have like the peppers in the bottom and like onion and like everything preserved in there that kind of adds more of like spiciness. I love like the spiced datuputi vinegars. But honestly, like when you use either coconut or sugar palm, I think there's like totally different like flavor profiles there. And so, you know, the Filipino vinegar cabinet is kind of diverse. And I would say the only way to know is to try. And so if your dad can go to the Filipino supermarket and try it, I highly recommend that. But it's just that like sasawan, which is like condiment in Tagalog, is just like such a big part of just the everyday eating ritual where you don't want to like oversalt your food, or you don't want to like, you just like have things where people can customize to their palate and what they like. And so that's why I have like, we have fermented shrimp paste and we have the vinegar, the suka and stuff. So like we can add to our, you know, personal taste.
But is there any reason to buy their like their bog standard vinegar is pretty neutral, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do say like I know like this is kind of just like snobbish, but like I would say if you don't use Filipino vinegar, you don't use Filipino soy sauce in adobo, you can kind of taste the difference. There's something harsh about just like regular Heinz white distilled vinegar that I wouldn't recommend to anybody really.
You know what I have in my pantry that you have to be super duper careful for is the kind of like Northern European like 25 and 30% vinegar. You ever use that stuff?
No.
It's crazy.
Like in what way? Like super acidic?
Yeah, it's so like, you know, your standard vinegar is like somewhere like around 5-6%, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you know, between 4 and 6, I would guess, right? Vinegar, and you know, they usually write on the bottle what the acidity is, right? And so that's how I do my math, right? Because whatever. That's my shtick. Anyway, so, but a lot of times I want to add vinegar, but I need the water base to stay low so that I have more leeway. So I started buying this crap. Nils Noren, who I used to cook with at the French Culinary Institute, he's like, the Swedes, we only use this super high grade vinegar, right? Because it's distilled. So once it's distilled, who the hell cares? So like, why am I paying for water when I want vinegar? But you have to be very careful. This 30% stuff is like 5 times as powerful as vinegar. So it's very easy just to go bloop-a-bloop, and then you're toast. Like, toast. You know what I mean?
At that percentage, you could use like acetone or like nail polish remover.
I mean, it's getting rough. It's getting like, so I don't keep it like with my normal vinegar.
Yeah.
I keep it like high shelf, and it's like in a weird shaped bottle. So yeah. And I have, you want it real nasty, glacial acetic, which is like, you know, lab grade, is like corrosive, and you want to stay the hell away from it. Like if you drip it on like your concrete floor to like etch into the concrete, it's hardcore.
All right.
Yeah, but you know, things have its uses. Like maybe sometimes you don't want to add water, you just want to add vinegar.
That's
you know,
true.
anyway.
The more you know.
But I think distilled vinegar has its place.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, right. It's not as smooth and round or whatever. Okay.
It's all right.
I mean, I use a lot of pure acids too in like bar and stuff to like when it's not an ingredient, when it's an adjustment. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. And from, how do you think? So it's Wolf Greg. What do you think? Wolf Greg. What do you think?
Greg.
Wolf
Yeah,
Greg.
Wolf Greg.
Greg. I'm not in an age where I can like just read letters as numbers. Like I don't do my passwords that way. I'm like, you know, whatever. All the A's or 8s or whatever it is. That's not the way I operate, people. Okay. Any suggestions, and describe it for people that don't know, any suggestions for making otap? Is that how you pronounce it? The cookie?
Oh, yeah. That is one of the recipes that I did not make for the book. But I do think that's one of those like biscuits that are like Filipino, and they're just like, you know what? This is one of the things I feel stumped because I've never made it for myself before. But God, I feel like so bad. I feel like, oh no, I feel I failed this person.
But isn't it basically like a puff pastry that you roll up, slice, and smash and cook?
Yeah. It's basically, it feels like so much like, a palmier kind of situation. And so I would say like in that way, you could just like literally get puff pastry and kind of knock it out. But the biggest fear I feel like with that kind of dessert is that you need to have like a glass of milk and a glass of water to wash that down, because like it's like similarly like you could just like choke on some crumbs and die. Like, not to be like very morbid here on the show, but like, so just be careful and try. I would experiment with like, at least if you want to go down the like pre-made puff pastry route, and see. But yeah.
For years, I resisted pre-made puff pastry, and then I was like, why?
No.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
No, who's gonna be like lamination police? Like, okay, my bad, I didn't laminate that.
Well, I think everyone in their life, not everyone, people who, there's a category of people that I am one of where you go through this period where you have to like do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, which one of the methods am I going to use? How am I going to make the détrempe and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And you're like, and then you're like, you know what? Machines do this really well.
Yeah.
You know, people do this really well. And then, you know, whatever. And then, you know, I used to do puff pastry because all of my onion tarts are, all of my old onion tarts were not pie based. They were puff paste based, right? You know, like kind of like free form puff paste based onion tarts. That used to be like my standard, like I have a party, it's onion tart time, giant pan, onions forever, caramelize them down, you know, cheese, cream, egg, maybe bacon, depending on who was there. Done. Puff paste, done, right? Done. Good warm, good cold, good the next day, doesn't matter. Anyway, and then I was, I just stopped making it. I was like, F this, no.
Yeah.
You know? Although, I think in the Instagram era, people are like, they want to see how high they can puff it. So they do all this stuff.
Yeah. I even noticed that with biscuits. Like, people are going like mile high biscuits.
Yeah.
It has to be like this big, bigger than your face.
Well, what are your thoughts on a biscuit? First of all, you have very, very clear brownies. I have to say, I'm the only person I know that I like a fudgy brownie. I like a fudge. Don't anyone say I don't like a fudgy brownie, but I also like a cakey brownie. And you hate a cakey brownie.
I know, I'm a hater. I'm sorry. I do like the.
You hate it so much that you jack your temperature down to 325 and bake your brownies for a long, long time, and then like, you know, you throw candies with rice paper on them. But it's like, we'll talk about your brownies.
Yeah.
But like, why the hatred of the cake?
I don't know. I just think if I want cake, I'll get cake. I don't want a cakey. Like, I feel like I associate that with dryness, and I like hate a dry brownie. And I think it's just something about that like box mix brownie that really like is naturally fudgy, where I'm like, that's what I want. I think it's a nostalgia, but also like, I don't know. I've had a couple bad brownies in my life, and so usually they're cakey.
I don't remember. Are you a cocoa, a chocolate, or a mixed person?
I'm a cocoa and chocolate added at the end to fold in. So cocoa, yeah.
You're a cocoa.
Are you a chocolate person?
And it's just we're going to have these arguments. I don't know. But like I'm usually in the minority, but brownies was the first recipe I memorized in the 70s, and no one taught me how to make them. And so like, sometimes I would melt the butter. Sometimes I would cream the butter in. Sometimes it was always butter, because even though the recipe said shortening, I didn't know what shortening was. And my mom said, it's like butter. I was like, Mom, what's shortening? She's like, it's like butter. And so I was like, I'll use butter. You know what I mean?
Like, how old were you at the time?
8.
8?
I was an only child, and both my parents worked, right? And so, like, I had a lot of time to
You're
myself.
Matilda.
Yeah, I had a lot of
making brownies on your own.
Yeah, I had a lot of time to myself and an 8x8 Pyrex glass pan. And so it was like, you know, that was my life. Anyway, so like I made them, and I would alter it so they came out differently all the time, but I developed a like for all the styles. But the early 70s recipe that I had was 2 ounces of Baker's brand unsweetened chocolate. You ever seen that one? It's got that old grandma
like
on the cover.
German chocolate
Yeah.
cakes.
It's way more expensive than it deserves to be for its quality.
Yeah.
Like so much more like expensive than it deserves to be for its quality. But that is the little 1 ounce squares of my childhood.
Aw.
Yeah, I don't buy it anymore though, because now I do the math. Now I'm like, how much sugar is in this chocolate that I'm buying? Okay, and then I like do the math and I figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, you want to talk about your brownies now? Might as well. We've already talked about them. Let's.
I don't know how we talk from I guess biscuits to brownies, but
because you were saying that everyone like makes a mile high biscuit. I asked you how you liked your biscuits, and then all I could think about was that we're going to have an argument about brownies.
I mean, I do like I like a high biscuit, but I think whatever gets it done that's like flaky layers, it doesn't necessarily have to be that tall. Like if you get the gist of it, it's like you just want a bite that's like satisfying.
Nastasia hates this conversation because she doesn't like biscuits. But do you like brownies, Nastasia? Are you a brownie fan?
Yeah, I like brownies.
Oh, good.
But you're everyone on the show, I believe, because we've had this conversation, everyone is a no inclusion person, right? You don't like nuts.
No nuts.
Well, that's not true.
You like nuts?
I don't mind walnuts.
Walnuts?
I grew up with. I don't know why my mom used to do that, but
Well, I
like
guess
a
walnuts
nostalgia
is
thing.
standard.
I mean,
Yeah. Walnuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
You ever had Harold McGee's
Definitely don't like
magic
cake brownies,
walnuts?
bro. Come on.
You ever had Harold McGee's magic walnuts? Oh my God.
No.
Oh my God. He has a 0 tannin walnut that gets shipped to him by some sort of like walnut magician. And Nastasi and I, one of the times we stayed there at his house, he just put those nuts out and didn't say anything. And we're like, what the hell? McGee's nuts. They're so good. Right? Remember that, Stas?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh my God. And he just walks around. Harold McGee just walks around his house with like magic nuts on the
nuts out.
table. Yeah. Magic nuts out all the time. It's crazy. By the way, I called him about some of your recipes. We'll get into that in a minute. But where were we? We were in biscuits and brownies. So with biscuits, the first question is: you already said you like flaky? I feel like it goes back and forth between people who like a more of a drop style, like fluffy, and people who like a flaky, and then people are trying to like kind of combine those two things, but really they're separate products. We're like, what
They
the
are.
hell, man?
Yeah.
So people are like, well, you could do it, and then you could put layers of flour in between the droppy stuff and make. No, listen, do a flaky, do a drop.
Right.
I
I'm
don't know.
thinking Red Lobster. Is that like the drop biscuit we're talking about?
Red Lobster, man, that's like. Wow, you're bringing it back. Those people know how to overcook some fish.
Oh, we can't hate them for their biscuits though. People go. For
I
their
never
biscuits.
I don't even remember that. I just remember like even as a kid when it was the fancy place you would go out, the Red Lobster. They're like, they take a hammer to this fish or what? You know what I mean? Like you never. Listen, if you own a Red Lobster franchise, I'm sure you don't do it this way. Whoever is hearing my voice who owns a Red Lobster franchise, but like when you go Red Lobster, don't get the brook. This is why I always say, like, when you're ordering a mixed seafood platter at most places, unless you know the chef, get the fried version. Right?
Yeah.
Back me up on this. Fried.
No, that's true.
You don't want someone's like, "Let's make sure the fish isn't undercooked. Keep broiling it. Keep broiling it." Comes out like, you pick it up. Oh, speaking of fish, can I tell one quick story from this weekend?
Yeah, please.
So I had to. My son is going to be my younger son's going to be a camp counselor this year at Connecticut. At this camp that he's been going to for a long time back when he used to have a place in Connecticut. And there's a small place called River Provisions. It's right on the Connecticut River, about 15 miles up from the mouth. And every year, shad runs up the Connecticut, right? It's like a fish that runs back, from the salt water back up, and you catch it, even though it doesn't eat using these spoons. It still strikes, even though it's not eating, because it's going up to do its kind of spawning thing. And they're big, and everyone eats the roe, but no one eats the meat because it's impossible to fillet because it's got an extra set of bones in it. But it is the most delicious. It's like a super oily, but like a super oily fish. It's like a giant, almost mackerel.
Nice.
Right? And they're like this. And when you get it, like there's like a couple old ladies who still know how to fillet these things. And once these people die, it's gone. So what you do is you buy the fillets and you can grill them and they don't go dry, which made me think of it. You can grill them, but when you pick up the fillets and you push your hands underneath it and they flop apart because they take these fillet knives and they run it the long way down the fish like 5 times and like flap it out like this and remove all the bones, leaving the skin on intact. And the skin is beautiful. I'll show you guys a picture after. The skin's beautiful. And then it's just a great fish. But everyone only thinks about the roe. Shad roe. Oh, shad roe. We have shad roe with butter and bacon and parsley. Lemon. You know what I mean? It's good, though. I mean, shad roe's good, but I prefer shad to fish. And I'm buying it, and it's the last because it's been a short season this year. And the guy at the front of the store, and I literally called them. I was driving by. I was like, "You got any shad?" He's like, "Yes, we just got some shad." I was like, "Yes!" And so again, I bought it all. I was like, "How much do you have? I'll take it all." And then so I bought it and ate it. It was delicious. And the guy at the checkout was like, "I didn't know you can eat a bait fish." I was like, "Shut your mouth!" Shut your mouth. It's not a bait fish. Just because you don't have the skill to bone it does not make it a bait fish, my friend. Check me out. Wow. You know what I mean?
Roasted.
Yeah. Anyway, they're delicious. Okay. So back to so that's how we got from biscuits to brownies.
Biscuits, right. There's a fish detour, and we got here. We're here.
Yeah, we're here now. We're here. What are you, flaky? Wait, you didn't say. Are you flaky or are you fluffy?
Flaky.
Flaky. Huh. Because you're going anti-cakey on most of these.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, you got
I can see the honor in both styles. Although recently I have to say that I have a habit of reading recipes and being like, that's garbage. That doesn't make any difference. And then I try it and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm now a butter grater. I'm now a frozen butter grater.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Frozen butter grating is the answer for biscuits.
Wow, you can't just like go in with like the little masher anymore. You gotta grate.
No, that's what I used to do. I was like, none of this matters. And I would just like, do it until it looked right, until it looked biscuity. You know what I mean? I would do the same thing, but anyway, yeah, the frozen, now, my son Booker, who uses unconscionable amounts of butter, is like, Dad, why do you keep this in the freezer? Shut up. It's in case I need to make biscuits.
Your reserve.
Yeah. Gotta have that biscuit reserve. So let's get back to brownies for a second. Because I had written my questions on it. Well, you described the brownies.
Yeah.
You described the oh, yes. MSG.
MSG. There's a 5-spice Toronas de Casoy. So Toronas de Casoy are like specifically from my parents' province, like Pampanga. It's like a specialty where it's like nougat, Spanish influence there. And it's like cashew nougat and usually wrapped in this edible wafer. And it was like the fun thing to be like, to fake smoke as a kid and use it like a cigar. But like really it's like nice and like kind of crispy, a little chewy. And I make mine with a little bit of 5-spice, just have a little bit of a kick and a little bit more salt. And then I chop that up on top of the brownie and I stud the brownie surface with that. And it's really beautiful because like the layer on top, like I love brownies that have that nice shiny layer.
I was going to ask you about that. Are you like, do you need that that glassy layer on top?
I need it. I did so much. I researched a lot to figure out how to like achieve that every single time. And I use a combination of like brown sugar and also powdered sugar. And I think the powdered sugar dissolves a lot better than I would say like any like regular straight up granulated sugar. And then another like theory of this is like, if you mix it up with the eggs, it kind of creates like a meringue. So that it does create some type of like beautiful, like glossy, crispy top layer, which I really like.
Do not serve Abby a dull surfaced, full chocolate cakey brownie. You're going to make her sad.
I feel like this podcast is making me sound really picky, but I'm like, no, but like I think there's certain things where you have to like stick to your guns and be like, this is what I like and this is what I like.
Doing this podcast is about people achieving the goals that they want. So like discussing like your, personal predilection. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Achieving it's actually, I never really
this podcast is about being picky, basically.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Being overly picky about things that are inconsequential to most people.
Yeah.
But that we care,
right, exactly.
Yeah, but that we care about a lot. Yeah. Nastasia and I used to have a motto for our company. I forget the exact motto, but basically we were trailing edge technology. So we're that thing that's nice to have, but if it falls off the plane, you're still safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those little wingtip things.
Yeah.
And you're like, if that fell off the plane, we'd be fine.
Oh.
That's nice to have, right? That's us, Stas, right?
Yep, that's our motto, or whatever.
Yeah, and like everything else we do, it takes a little long to set. It's not condensed into a motto. But the MSG is in the batter?
It's in the batter, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never really thought about powdered sugar having more sugar dissolved in it, right? Because brownies are fairly low moisture, so if you use granulated sugar, it probably doesn't fully dissolve before the bake-out happens, and so it probably won't glass out the same way. I wonder whether the cornstarch in the powdered sugar has any. Probably not, because there's already a bunch of starch in it anyway.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. But the MSG, how much MSG is in it?
I think it's about half a teaspoon. And there's another half teaspoon of salt.
For a how many stick butter recipe?
There's no butter.
No.
There's only olive oil in this.
Olive oil. Sorry, I didn't memorize it. My bad. But how much olive oil?
I want to say, I did this so recently. Maybe it's 2/3 cup, but I have to double check.
2/3 cup.
Yeah, I have to double check on that. But
2/3 cup.
Fact check me there.
So it's over. It's more than. So a stick of butter is 113 grams. So it's more than that.
I think so.
To how much flour?
Oh my God.
So what's with the olive oil? What's the olive oil in it? What's that doing for it?
Okay, so olive oil and just regular oil usually in like a brownie recipe allows for more of that chewy, fudgy texture that you don't care that much about, but I do. And that's like, whenever you do box mix brownies, again, it's like an oil that you use and that kind of creates the same texture.
I never thought about it.
Yeah, and olive oil for this, this is more of like the savory toned brownie that we were kind of discussing before. It's just like I want to like really hit the umami, and so MSG, it's not necessarily like you can taste it a lot. It's more just like the sensation, like when you bite in the brownie and then it kind of lingers where it's like this mouth watering feel. And literally just like I need it to like I don't know. It's like a nice little hint, and it plays well with the 5 spice and the salt.
So what other what other baked goods? I mean, everyone at this point hopefully knows that like every baked good should have salt in it, and every ice cream mix should have salt in it. Speaking of which, how about the salted duck egg creme anglaise?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That was a fun one to come up with. But I think it just it edges out the sweetness where it's not like you don't get sick of it, which I don't know.
You don't get any textural issues getting the cooked eggs in, the salted duck eggs in with the thing, or no? It's nice.
No, it's kind of like it emulsifies in pretty well, and it's not like you only use the salted duck eggs.
Right, so it's like half and half, right?
Yeah. It's really easy.
Yeah. Huh. So what else do you think MSG works in for baked goods?
I think like I've never used it to bump up caramel, but like I feel like if I were to, I always kind of lean into caramel as like a vehicle for more savory things. So like in the book, I use a fermented shrimp paste called bagoong, but like I've seen like soy caramel, miso caramel, every kind of caramel or something.
Yeah, well, salted caramel was such a huge thing, so why not a little MSG? A little bit. I bet you chocolate chip cookies would be good.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you like your? How do you?
Have some
well,
here
yeah.
today
Well, so you can see. So describe for people who can't. Okay. Well, we'll do the tasting. We'll do the tasting in a minute. Another thing I had a question about is going back to the Jack's love of his pretzel buns. Just talk to me about dusting the tops of rolls with breadcrumbs, because that seems like a cool. That seems cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like just for a traditional Filipino pandesal, like it's always kind of like a dusting of that and a coating where it's just like, maybe for like textural purposes, I think it's like you bite into it and then it's like just like a nice little, even the slightest of crunches, but it still adds something to it. But I don't think I've ever had pandesal without the breadcrumbs on top. I think it's just like a very signature part of it. And so for those that don't know, I read the recipe. It's like medium. It's a medium fortified milk based bread with like a medium amount of butter. It's not like brioche heavy. It's like light. It's like closer to like the recipe looks like maybe a little more butter than a standard American hamburger roll, and there's some sugar in it, right? So you said it's kind of close to the Hawaiian. Right? Yeah. There's a little bit. There's there's a Hawaiian, King's Hawaiian vibe to it. But honestly, it's just like it's a staple breakfast thing where it's not super, super sweet as like King's Hawaiian would be. But like there's a little bit of sweetness for sure. And that one, you do like a dull finish. You don't want that one glossy, at least not in your picture. I know, like not pro glossy pandesal, right? But So what texture of breadcrumb is that? Is that like a standard like Italian Progresso size breadcrumb or standard? And the funny thing with like the logistics of like when you're grocery shopping for a cookbook, it's like I was running into a problem where I don't know why the plain breadcrumbs were out of stock at like Seatown or whatever, but they only had the Italian seasoning. I was like, I don't want the Italian seasoning breadcrumbs, but not panko, just like regular Progressive. Yeah. I mean, there was a period where everyone used panko. Panko is a miracle, but it's not for everything. No, it's not for everything. No. Yeah. I mean, like, you ever gone down the internet rabbit hole of watching panko videos? No. Wait, what's that? What do you mean? So, panko is a technological marvel because panko is a crustless bread that's made only for the crumbs, and it's baked between electric plates that cause it to rise straight up into this like thing. It's then par dried and shredded, and so it's like very specific. This like weird bread like cooked between these plates with no crust. I believe it's resistive heating, right, John? Yeah. And so like you go online, you're gonna do it. You're gonna go down a panko hole, and you're gonna be like, whoa. So cool. And that's why they're texturally so different. That's why you can't mimic panko just by having larger, like crumbs. Western breadcrumbs. It's not just coarse breadcrumbs, right? And there are different sizes of panko, but the texture and the orientation of the bubbles in the crumb totally different. So it's brown, completely the same. Like since there's no crust, like is it just like the same tone or? Yeah, so it's high yield in that way, right? But also like because it's cooked resistively between like the whole bread. Like if you look at the panko breads, they're like tall. Mm-hmm. Like you think that they're baked this way, but they're not. They're baked tall, and the bubbles go up like this, like almost And then they can shred the whole thing. But that structure and the way it's baked is why it can't be easily mimicked, and why you should not attempt.
there are people who like try to make their own panko, but it's like, you know what? It's like it's just one of those things that even I am like, no thanks.
No.
No.
It's like Pop Rocks.
Yeah, I tried that.
You set up a resistance heater and you try to do it. You tried to do it in an oven.
I tried to do it in the oven.
That won't work.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Quinn, man, there's some things just, there's some things. Like, Nastasia believes pasta is one of those things. That.
Well, that too,
That is true.
Yeah. All right. Now, so when I was reading your book, people who know me know that I like pH shifts. Okay. And so anytime there's alkaline cooking techniques that I don't understand, I'm like, wait, what? And that's what happened in the book, right? So, lye water, Filipino lye water, which is, I guess, similar to, because it's not coming as a powder, it comes as a liquid similar to consoy, right? Mm-hmm. And then, down my little rabbit hole of looking for it, like they have various different bases in them. I haven't been able to determine exactly what the concentration is to make your own. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
The one that I ended up buying is sodium carbonate based, and you can make your own sodium carbonate, as Harold McGee said, in one of his New York Times things, by baking baking soda, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know the percentages. So then you have these two starch based Filipino desserts, and I don't have your version because, and I will discuss this. We have the
Kuchinta.
That's how you pronounce that?
Yeah. The TS is.
Well, I'm so glad I did not try to pronounce
You're
that.
fine. I knew. I heard you struggle a little bit. I was like, I'm going to save you right now.
Yeah, say it again.
Kuchinta.
All right, but for those of you who are pronunciation jerks like me and have no knowledge or culture, it looks like it says Kutsinta.
Yes, you're not wrong.
Yeah, but Kachinta sounds cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
Yeah, so wait, why don't you, and then the other one, this is pronounced like it's written, right? Peachy Peachy?
Yeah, perfect. Foghorn.
And they gave me this. So I bought this at a local place, local to me. I don't know whether it's any good, but the idea is that these starches are cooked with alkaline water, and it affects the texture. I can tell you it affects the taste. I mean, like I keep my taste mind open for alkaline stuff all the time. It's like I love pretzels because they're alkaline. I love so I like to think about it. So you want to describe these two things and the lye water and what it's for, and then we can discuss that no one has written good science papers on it.
That's very true. Honestly, a lot of even Filipino cooking is so oral that's like it just works because it works, and I was like, I have to describe this now. But like Kuchinta and Pichi Pichi are under the umbrella of kakanin, which are the rice cake desserts / snacks. And for Kuchinta, it's kind of like the main flavor there is brown sugar, and then you're just mixing that with like different variations of sometimes tapioca rice flour, rice flour, etc. And it has like this mochi-like texture after being steamed, and that's what we usually use like coconut as a topping for. And they're like little discs. Oh, thank you. Little brown discs, and then you add like a bunch of fresh coconut on top.
Right, these ones that we have here look like they were made in like a little like an egg tart ramekin or something.
Yeah, and that's what I usually use, like little tart molds to steam them in. And I'm going to go ahead and let's use this. Let's use a fork. We're doing some grated coconut on top.
So these are like they look like the color of brown sugar.
Yeah.
Right, and they look like vaguely. Yeah, they're vaguely jelly-like. All
and
right.
the texture.
Well, you need to try it too because you need to tell me whether this is a good one.
Okay, there's a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna pick up mine, but you can use your fork. Okay, and the color sometimes for traditional kuchinta, they get like a little bit of anato to make it more darker.
Oh, that's right. You said they cheat.
I mean, they're not using. Yeah, it's not brown sugar solely that gets this color.
Although you got me on that too because she has these amazing looking shortbreads that are flavored with freeze dried fruit, which is a great idea. Mm-hmm. And I was like, your colors are so amazing. You're like, I cheated. I used food.
I know. I can't live with myself. I'm Catholic. I'll be like going to confession for like, I'm so sorry to lie to Dave.
All right. So now the reason I brought these in, even though they're I didn't get a chance to make the recipe, right? But your recipe, because there's recipes, by the way, for both of the things we're talking about in the book, so you should pick up the book. The reason I bought this is because I have no mental referent for this food.
Yeah.
And I don't like, and we could talk about this because it's an interesting problem, right? So sometimes if there's no referent, I'll make something anyway, but then I'm making it the way I think it tastes good, which is different, and it ends up just tasting like the food that I always make in a different style. Whereas if it's possible, I like to have someone who knows be with me and taste it and say, this is an accurate representation so that I can recalibrate how my mind thinks for when I make it. And then when I make it, I can be like, oh, I'm good at this, I'm bad at this, or I want it this way or this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
so that's why I brought this here, so we could see whether or not this is an accurate representation of this product. And I'm not saying where I bought it.
Just in case.
Just in case it's not an accurate representation of the product.
No, this is great. This is one of my favorite things at a Filipino party, honestly. And it's accurate to like my childhood and eating this now. It's just a good bounce with like the lye water. Just make sure it like solidifies enough to get to this texture.
And is that the accurate amount of alkaline taste, of lye water taste? Because for me, like whenever I taste it, like I know it's there because I look for it. You know what I mean? But like I think if you didn't know,
Like a blind taste test.
yeah, if you didn't know it was there, like, you know, if you didn't even know what alkaline tasted like, maybe you wouldn't know that it was there.
Yeah.
But like, what would the texture be like if I cooked that without the lye water? Would it be texturally different, or wouldn't have the lye water?
I think it's something where I feel
taste.
like lye water is also used for like ramen noodles sometimes, right? And so that also adds to the springiness and the bounciness there.
Right, but that's a protein interaction.
I mean, that is an interaction.
Right, so
true.
yeah.
But I mean, with this too, I feel like there's a similar thing where I think trying it without lye water, I remember in my test, there's just not that bounce back. Like I there's no other way to say it except that it's like there's no resistance when you chew through it.
Right.
Like, I mean, obviously there's like still like rice flour or tapioca flour, whatever combination of, starch there.
Well, you would think the tapioca would give you more bounce, right?
There is some of that, but like it's just it adds an extra oomph to that.
Yeah.
I know that's not like a scientific term.
Well, what's interesting to me is that this is, well, you know, you said that like there's like a lot of the Filipino cooking is oral, but there's also an amazing history of Filipino food scientists. You know what I mean? Especially women food scientists and botanists, and we'll talk about coconut sport in a little bit if we have. Yeah, we'll have time. And so I was just shocked that there was no information on this, and so I did like a full on trying to research in English. In English, there's not a lot of stuff, and I called Harold McGee. I was like, "Yo, Harold, you know anything about Filipino starch-based desserts with alkaline cooking?" Yeah. He's like, "No, there's not much on it." And he sent me like the only thing he could find was, and by the way, we could talk about this too. Like, I'm not very good at things that are trendy because I'm a butthead, and we could talk about that later. But because I never got on the grass jelly train. Did you ever get on the grass jelly train?
Jelly? I mean, that's like just like a Southeast Asian. We love grass.
Yeah, but it got huge in New York, like maybe like 6-7 years ago.
Oh,
like,
we're talking about when there was like that trend where it's like the ice, like
Yeah.
it's just clear and it's like, oh, it's jelly, like rain water jelly.
Well, no, but then there was like the black jelly, the grass jelly. Like it's got huge here from everyone was talking about it. So I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna. No. I don't know why, because I'm like that. Same thing with ube. Like it got huge. I'm like, nope. You know what? No. And it's a sickness that I have. It's the same way that like when I was a kid, I didn't want to listen to the same music other people listen to.
It's the hipster.
Yeah. I was like, no. I was like, hell with this. No, I'll wait until people stop caring about it, and then I will care about it deeply. Anyway, it's a mental problem, and I shouldn't be that way, but I've always been that way. So anyway, apparently there is a starch interaction because, there's that member of the mint family whose name I forget that they make the grass jelly out of, and you have to boil it for a long time in alkaline water. But that's the only paper that he was able to find on it. There's not a lot of work.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry I can't add as much to that either, but...
Yeah, so I was like, what's going on here? So what do you think, John?
I have no idea.
You have theories?
No, the taste.
Oh, the taste. I liked it. Yeah.
Do you taste the alkaline?
I don't really know if I know what alkaline tastes like now that I'm trying to.
It's more. You can tell more in the here.
This one.
Talk about this product now. So that you describe the Did I get it right? Kuchinta?
Kuchinta, yeah.
Yeah.
And in my book, I change it slightly with like Thai tea, and that also adds the flavor and also color that's traditional with Kuchinta. But the pitchy is like cassava and also like sugar and water. And it seems like this is rolled in like some more coconut.
Yeah, yours look easier to eat than this one.
Yeah, this one is like, okay, this, and to describe, it's like in blocks. And for mine, I like to do like little like discs, and they're coated in coconut as well. But mine are like flavored with chamoy and raspberry. And so it's like a fruitier flavor and definitely not traditional at all. But this, we're going to see. Sometimes also I've noticed people love, you know, if you like salty sweet, we've had cheese on top of this in the past in my family. But
so this, for those of you who can't see, this one's like looks like lemon or pineapple curd.
This is kind of like it's like a butter yellow.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
And like semi-translucent. It's when I say, the reason I say like a lemon curd is it looks like a citrus product that's being clouded by butter, but it's not. It's none of those things. No. So what goes in this?
Literally just like cassava, grated cassava.
And use the frozen grated?
Yeah, usually. I definitely don't like to put in the effort most of the time to like grate that cassava by hand. And so it's like, usually my mom would always have this with just regular frozen cassava.
And is the frozen cassava just as good as the grating it fresh? Like honestly, between you and me and everyone who's listening?
Yeah, frozen grated is fine. No.
Is this accurate?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
but it's like, you'll see.
Are you getting more of the lye water on that?
Yeah, it's really delicious.
It's interesting.
So, because this texture is so much softer and the flavor comes in leaves faster, I think you can get that. You know where that lye. It's not lye, it's sodium carbonate, probably. It could be a different thing, but you can get where it is. But so this is an accurate representation of what's going on?
Yeah.
Of the texture?
This texture is right to me. But
So how would you describe how would you describe this texture as well? It's definitely a lot less bouncy than the Kuchinta, right?
Yeah, a lot less.
Is yours bouncier than this? Like, will it get bouncier?
No, this is pretty similar to mine. And I feel like this, when you put it in the fridge and everything, and it just stays like this texture, it just kind of sucks. Okay, this is like the thing that I don't love about this dessert is that it gets very like all over your hands. And I think like I use like, oh, thank you. I usually use actually like, what's it called? It's just like desiccated coconut as the coating because it does like allow less of like the tackiness, and it just like kind of not absorbs, I guess maybe absorbs, but it's like protects your hands. And that's not like an important thing of the flavor or anything, but it was just like something I noticed about this variation.
So while you're talking about coconut, why don't you talk about the crazy variety of awesome different Filipino coconut products?
Mm-hmm. There's nata de coco, which is like a coconut gel. And if you ever had like lychee jelly in like a boba drink or something, that's exactly what that is kind of made from. And they just flavor it with like lychee extract probably. But it's like this like nice, satisfying, chewy, like juicy chew. And I love that in like buko pandan salad and fruit salad. It's like very much a staple of like our cold desserts, and like halo halo as well. It uses nata de coco.
It's also a crazy product because it's bacterial cellulose.
Oh, yeah. That's the scientific term.
Well, it's like, you ferment it and the bacteria grows the cellulose. I think it's very similar to the hard stuff in kombucha.
Oh,
I think
that's fascinating.
I think so. I don't know. I don't taste the stuff on top of kombucha, so I don't know. You know what I mean? But I think it's structurally similar, like a cellulose thing. And I've had it, but I've never had. I was reading that they also make it from pineapple juice. Is that good?
There's the pineapple flavored ones. That's pretty yummy. I feel like I would just like maybe stray away from it if you're trying to like have a specific, like buko pandan is like very delicate coconut flavors. We don't want pineapple in that mix in case you're a little adventurous. Who knows? But usually it's funny, like in the Filipino grocery stores, you'll see it in like different colors sometimes. Like they just like dye it with like red or with green, but like it's usually preserved in syrup, and that allows it to like stay shelf stable for a while. Yeah,
talk to me about the coconut sport.
Oh, coconut sport, makapuno. Okay, so makapuno is like one of the, like, it's like literally when you look it up on Wikipedia, it's like a genetic mutation of coconut. So when you open up like a young coconut, it's just like pretty much like jelly-like inside. That is literally what that is. And I don't even know, like, and then because people are like, this is yummy and tasty, they started to like genetically like reproduce these things and like actually, I guess, like harvest this type of coconut for intentionally, not on accident.
I went down a rabbit hole on that too. Crazy story.
Tell me more.
Well, I mean, I know little about it, from a culinary standpoint, other than it's real interesting. It's like softer. It's good. Even you obviously like it. You use it a lot in the thing. You know what I mean? How does it taste different, by the way, when you get it in the can and syrup versus if you were able to get it fresh?
I've never had it fresh. I don't know who has it fresh, but I really want to try it one day.
All right, so here's the story that I read. So yeah, it's a mutation that naturally occurs in coconut palms from time to time. It's recessive because the embryo of the nut can't grow. So there wasn't a way to propagate. So if you had a tree that had the recessive gene in it, and then it was fertilized by another one that was recessive, you would occasionally get these makapuno, and so the entire inside, like you say, is filled with this and so it was a huge delicacy because it was super rare and you couldn't know until you cracked open the nut whether you were going to get it or not. Right. So even on a tree that was recessive, and so people would plant a bunch of these recessive ones near each other hoping to get one, but still it was only somewhere between 2 and 7 or 8% of the nuts would have this thing. So the price was through the roof. And it's still more expensive than regular coconut meat.
Oh, yeah. You buy it in jars here, and it's also imported, so it's always so expensive to get. But traditionally, it's used in tandem a lot with ube. So it's ube makapuno cake is very, very common of a flavor. And I don't know, there's something that's just it's softer to me whenever I eat like that versus just a fresh, even coconut meat. And I don't know, it's just really nice and sweet, and I have it on top of this ube makapuno lava cake in my book, and so I don't know, it is. I would recommend anyone who hasn't had it to try it, just to again have a sense of what it is.
Well, so this food scientist who, as of 2020, she was still alive. Her name was Emerita de Guzman in the Philippines. Figured out a way to break open the coconut. Determined that it was makapuno, cut out just the embryo and raise the embryo it's called embryo rescue. And she raised the embryos on their own, so she was able to take ones that were double recessive and grow them as plants. And she was able to get the yield of makapuno nuts from 7% up to 80%. And so all of a sudden it became viable to grow the makapuno coconuts.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It's cool, right? It's a cool story.
No, it's really cool. Science right there. Oh my God.
Science. That's what we're here for. Science.
Wow.
All right. So let's talk about this cookie before we run out of time.
Yes.
So what cookie did you bring?
I brought the adobo chocolate chip cookies that were featured recently in the New York Times.
Oh, nice. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great to see the reception of this cookie. It's a nice example, again, of sweet, salty umami. I use soy sauce in there instead of salt in the dough. And then I also use bay leaf to brown the butter.
We got 2 minutes. Oh, bay leaf in the butter?
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's pink peppercorn on top. So if you have a cashew allergy, maybe stay away. But it's a great mix of a little bit of hint of spice and floral.
So this is so you're saying this is the kind of sine qua non of your fusion of savory with sweet?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yummy.
You eat and discuss. I'm going to have to ask more questions. We're going to run out of time. Okay. Saba banana. Can't get it here. Maduro plantains, direct swap. It's good?
It's good.
All right. So that was a good hack. I like that. You're just use the plantains. I swapped out for plantains. And you said, what was it? You said, whose recipe was that? Was that your mom's or your aunt's or something like that? That recipe?
There's one that's mommy's ginatang bilo, and we use that for sure.
and she was cool with it?
She's cool with it. A+ from her.
Yeah. What about this? I'm not going to make it because I don't like melons, but what about the chicharron, crumbly chicharron topping? I like a sweet pork rind situation. So
I think I was really inspired by prosciutto and melon rind, and I wanted something that had the same flavor profile, and that's a crumble to me, I guess.
All right, okay, well, we're going to run out of time. Talk to me quickly about roast rice coffee.
Roast rice coffee. So in the Philippines,
you don't like regular coffee though.
I am a hater. I don't love coffee. And so roast rice has no caffeine. And also has like the dark notes of like a roasted coffee, but I use it in tiramisu. So it's a great swap.
And you show how to make it yourself. You just toast it and grind it. And is it good to drink?
Well, you can drink it. I mean, it's more so just like it's just like a roasted flat kind of flavor, but it's good for a tiramisu.
All right, talk to me about Frito Crunch and corn milk pudding.
Ooh, okay, that's the malted milk maja blanca, and so I love the sweet and salty again of the Fritos. So I put a toffee with that on top of the malted milk, corn, and coconut milk pudding, and it's like my mom's recipe, but I tweaked it again.
All right. Well, we run out of time. I could ask you more because I want to talk to you about your carrot fritters and whether there's a problem with them because there's no binder, just cornstarch, right? Mm-hmm. Do they hold together really well?
They hold together, but you have to kind of like tamp it down and like make sure to use some pressure to keep it together.
All right. And, I was going to talk to you for a long time about pork floss because I love it so much. And I was going to ask you about this water buffalo milk. Can you get that in the U.S.?
You can get it in Queens.
Is it good?
It's pretty good.
Worth searching for?
Worth it. Maria's Bulacan Sweets. I'll shout them out because I've tried them before.
All right. And since you said it was good, the pastries we got today, other than the one you baked for us, thank you so much, were from Johnny's Air Mart on Avenue A. Yes. Or Johnny Air Mart on Avenue A. Anyway, Abby, thank you so much for coming on anytime. And the book is Mayumu, Filipino American Desserts Remixed, Cooking Issues.
Thank you.